On March 6, 2019, a confidential McKinsey slide titled "How to Accelerate Opioid Sales" landed on a federal courtroom floor, its stark red arrows pointing straight at America's spiraling addiction crisis. In that instant, the world's most prestigious consulting firm was thrust into the spotlight as a hidden architect of a public health disaster that has claimed more than 500,000 lives. Founded in 1926, McKinsey and Company has built a reputation for solving the most complex problems for Fortune 500 giants, governments, and nonprofits. Its consultants are trained to dissect data, model outcomes, and deliver actionable strategies that promise growth, efficiency, and market dominance. By the early 2000s, the firm had become the go-to advisor for the pharmaceutical industry, wielding influence that could shape drug pipelines, pricing structures, and, crucially, marketing tactics. The opioid epidemic began in the late 1990s, when pharmaceutical companies introduced powerful prescription painkillers like OxyContin, touting them as safe solutions for chronic pain. Aggressive marketing campaigns convinced physicians that the risk of addiction was rare or negligible. As prescriptions surged, so did misuse, overdoses, and deaths. By 2017, the United Nations warned that opioid misuse was a global emergency. Yet behind the headlines, a quiet partnership between drug makers and a consulting behemoth was steering the crisis toward unprecedented scale. In 2006, Purdue Pharma, the maker of OxyContin, hired McKinsey to help optimize sales and distribution for its flagship opioid. The consultancy's team, led by a former investment banker turned senior partner, conducted a deep dive into prescribing patterns, identifying high-potential prescribers, and mapping the most lucrative geographic markets. Their recommendations were blunt: increase sales calls, incentivize physicians with bonuses, and expand marketing into low-income, high-need communities, areas where patients often lacked access to alternative pain management. McKinsey's involvement didn't stop at Purdue. Over the next decade, the firm entered contracts with other opioid manufacturers, including Johnson & Johnson's subsidiary Janssen, and the powerful pain relief giant Endo International. Internal memos reveal that McKinsey's opioid playbook was repeatedly refined. It urged clients to push for broader prescribing by targeting primary care doctors rather than specialists, to educate patients through sponsored webinars that downplayed addiction risks, and to reshape reimbursement models so insurers would favor their drugs over non-opioid alternatives. The tactics were effective. From 2010 to 2016, opioid prescriptions in the United States jumped from 76 to 115 million annual doses, a 51% increase. In parallel, overdose deaths involving prescription opioids rose from 5,000 to more than 30,000 per year. Communities in Appalachia, the Rust Belt, and rural Midwest, regions where McKinsey's strategies had been aggressively deployed, saw skyrocketing rates of addiction, neonatal withdrawal, and criminal activity linked to drug dependence. The turning point came in 2020, when a whistleblower, an ex-McKinsey analyst, leaked thousands of internal documents to investigative journalists. The papers detailed not only the firm's recommendations but also a striking willingness to sidestep emerging regulatory warnings. In one email exchange, a McKinsey partner wrote, "If the FDA imposes limits, we'll find a way around it. Our job is to keep the pipeline flowing." The leaks sparked a cascade of lawsuits, both civil and criminal, against the pharmaceutical companies and, for the first time, against McKinsey itself. The United States Department of Justice, alongside dozens of state attorneys general, filed a consolidated civil suit in early 2021, accusing McKinsey of contributing to the opioid epidemic through fraudulent, deceptive, and reckless advice. The complaint alleged that the firm knowingly enabled clients to expand sales of addictive drugs, ignored scientific evidence of harm, and deliberately misled regulators. Plaintiffs demanded billions in damages, as well as a permanent injunction barring McKinsey from consulting for any pharmaceutical entity involved in controlled substance marketing. The trial, which began in the fall of 2021, unfolded like a courtroom drama. Former McKinsey consultants took the stand, describing a corporate culture that prized impact over ethics and rewarded partners who delivered record-breaking revenue for clients. Prosecutors presented the leaked slide decks, showing vivid graphs of projected profit gains alongside projected increases in overdose deaths. Defense attorneys argued that McKinsey's role was limited to strategic advice and that ultimate prescribing decisions rested with doctors, not consultants. After weeks of testimony, the jury delivered a verdict that reverberated through the consulting world. While the court stopped short of labeling McKinsey's conduct as criminal, it found the firm liable for reckless conduct contributing to public harm, and ordered a $550 million settlement to be paid to a coalition of states, municipalities, and health organizations. The settlement also required McKinsey to implement a comprehensive compliance program, publicly disclose all future work with pharmaceutical companies, and fund a grant program for opioid addiction treatment and prevention. The aftermath of the verdict rippled far beyond the balance sheet. McKinsey's reputation suffered an unprecedented blow. Its logo, once synonymous with elite problem-solving, was plastered across newsfeeds alongside images of devastated families and courtroom sketches. The firm announced it would cease all work with opioid manufacturers and would no longer advise on any product classified as a controlled substance. Internally, senior partners resigned, and the firm embarked on a public relations overhaul, promising ethical consulting and a renewed focus on social responsibility. For the victims and their families, the settlement offered a measure of accountability but not full closure. Many communities still grapple with a flood of overdose deaths, orphan children, and overwhelmed treatment centers. Subscribe to The Verdict for more stories like this.